France occupied Burkina Faso for generations. They stole gold and uranium, billions of dollars of resources for pennies on the dollar, while the people of Burkina Faso suffered. But Burkina Faso's new revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, says no more. Traore has kicked out all of the French troops from his country in Africa. He has banned exports of gold to Paris, and he has dropped French as the official language of Burkina Faso. It's a total cultural, political, and economic reset. Now, obviously, French President Emmanuel Macron is kind of upset with all of this. He has made his position known. And President Traore beautifully responded. He said, if anyone is ungrateful, it is him, Emmanuel Macron. France exists today thanks to our ancestors. They should pray for us. And Burkina Faso is making it clear that this is not about some attack on France. This is about independence and sovereignty. Just last week, Burkina Faso's President Traore decided to release 4 French spies who were guilty of attempting to commit a coup against the president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, in 2022. The message is clear. Burkina Faso is not the pawn of France or the Dutch or the United States anymore. But forgiveness is also at the heart of their revolution. Traore says that this is not just a split, it is a revolution with global ripples. I couldn't have said it better myself.
He also insulted all Africans.
I think they forgot to say thank you to us. It's not a big deal. It will come with time.
There is a part that caught my attention where he talked about ingratitude.
Gratitude, I am well aware, is a non-transmissible disease to humans.
He is human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman sees Africa, sees Africans. We are not human. In his eyes, I think that if he is not an atheist and he prays, every morning when he wakes up and prays, he should also pray to the Africans. Because it is thanks to our ancestors that there is a France today. He should pray to us.
So do you know about this? Have you heard of President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso? All right, young man, been in power 2 years now, president of Burkina Faso. He's a military guy, captain. And I don't know if you know about this, but there's been about 18 assassination attempts on his life. And he came into power at a very strategic time in the history of Burkina Faso, a lot of difficulty, instability. And he's done quite a few amazing things in his 2 years, even though they've tried to assassinate him so many times. If you go and look what he is trying to do in terms of key reforms aimed at stabilizing his nation, he has built schools, hospitals, roads, developed agriculture, donating a lot of tractors and equipment for agricultural development so they can produce their own food.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching us from. As you know, these represent Unique Stories, and I'm hoping that you are doing super great from wherever you're watching us from. Now, what's in question? For the recent past, you've heard people talking about the president of Burkina Faso, that's Ibrahim Traore, and his stance in regards to geopolitical factors and the decisions that he makes that affects how Africa runs. And this is really sending shockwaves to the Western imperialists. I'm talking about France. You look at how France want to control the African mineral resources. Ibrahim Traore stands still, and this got a lot of people trying to talk about. Look at just recently when the American general was trying to interject that the president of Burkina Faso, that's Ibrahim Traore, was trying to use public resources. I mean, the gold in the gold mines is using the public resources. That he's misusing the public resources. That's how it was termed. But people are not looking at how, especially the elites, they're not seeing how they have played part and parcel of making Africa fail. Majority of these people have always benefited from Africa. And that's why they don't want radical leaders. They don't want radical leaders that come out and talk about all these things that you see are happening today. And so a lot of people across the world today, we are seeing white Americans really talking about this topic, because what we are here to see is just the beginning of a revolution, and it needs everyone. Remember, these folks have left the United States crumbling. Right now, they are pushing the same hands that have crumbled the United States. And so you see a lot of people are standing with Africa today because they don't want the same script that the puppets used to take away Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, because the same narrative is something that is being pushed towards what's happening in Africa. And Ibrahim Traore is so hard nut to crack. He's not giving them a damn time to do so. So let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my commentary in regards to this. For those who are watching us for the first time, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back with my word.
He's done quite a few amazing things in his 2 years, even though they've tried to assassinate him so many times. If you go and look what he is trying to do in terms of key reforms aimed at stabilizing his nation, he has built schools, hospitals, roads, developed agriculture, donating a lot of tractors and equipment for agricultural development so they can produce their own food. They have stopped exporting raw materials. They are trying to process gold themselves, hospitals, all those kind of things. You know, there's a lot of things, even airport, right? And so there's a lot of development that's going into Burkina Faso at this moment in time. And I'm sitting and I'm looking at this whole thing. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything he is doing, all right? I'm also not saying that everything he's doing is bad. I think any president that is building schools, working on education, all right? Any president that is bettering the health care of their people, that's trying to help their people to become more self-sustainable, less reliant on imports, etc., increase production in the country, factories, job creation, etc. I think that is a praiseworthy president. And so the interesting thing is, when it comes to Africa, and you go and look at the history of the last 20 years of Africa, and presidents that have been removed either through a military coup and or assassinated and or removed weird circumstances or committed suicide, you know. A lot of those, or let me rephrase that, some of them were corrupt, all right? All of them were not good. But there were a number of them whose heart was really to better their country. But they have something in common, and that is that they went against the global establishment, if I can put it like that. And I'm not going to define that, go into details, all right? I think you know what I'm talking about. And so a lot of them just suddenly left this earth in sometimes a very bizarre way. So I'm looking at President Ibrahim Traore, and I'm not saying, again, I'm agreeing with everything he's doing, especially with some of his alliances, some of the other leaders in Africa that he's endorsing. Some of them are questionable, all right? But it is very clear that he's got a heart for his people and for his nation. And in his aim to develop his own country, there's been roughly 18 assassination attempts on his life. And if you look at the trend of African leaders disappearing when they want to build their own countries and invest in their people, isn't that a bit strange to you? Isn't that bizarre, you know? Now, I know what's going on. I'm not talking from a position of ignorance, all right? The thing is just I can't discuss a lot of these things on this platform, all right, because of the fact that the video will be removed. Free speech is not always as free as you think. You know, there's a price to pay. Any case, so I'm looking at this whole situation with interest and seeing where this is going. But I'll tell you one thing. If I look at what has happened the last 2 years with Captain Ibrahim Traore, I would say if I was him, I would sleep with one eye open. And it's very hard to know who you trust in circumstances like that. And that is true for any leader, any government official, any president, sometimes you don't know who are friends and who are your enemies. But let's keep our eye on this. Very interesting developments, and a lot is changing in Burkina Faso at this moment in time. So do you know about this?
Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, he's been in the news again recently. Now, to explain this, I'm going to have to give you a little bit of a crash course in Burkina Faso history. So he took power of Burkina Faso in 2022 in what the Western media call a military coup, but what many Africans and many people in Burkina Faso call a revolution. You see, Burkina Faso it used to be anyway, a French colony. Now, it got its independence as the Republic of Upper Volta in 1960. However, the French never really went away. And like many other colonies that France had in Africa, they made Burkina Faso use their CFA franc, their French franc, which France doesn't even use anymore. And as a result of that, Burkina Faso had to go through French banks. And the French banks then could basically buy the resources from Burkina Faso at pennies on, well, the franc. Which is quite a lucrative deal when you consider that Burkina Faso is Africa's fourth biggest producer of gold. And he made it his aim when he came to power to basically kick the French out and take control over the gold reserves in Burkina Faso. And guess what? It's exactly what he did. I mean, not only was it unfair that the French could basically have control over those reserves, buy the gold at a knockdown price, and have their French companies mine the gold and refine it and not pay any tax in that country whatsoever, but also they weren't giving back anything to the people of Burkina Faso. He didn't just take control of the mining though, oh no, he took control of the refining of it as well, built the factories, and this is him just a few months ago getting delivery of their first gold bars. But that's not all he's done in the last 3 years. He has completely and utterly revolutionized the farming industry and the agricultural industry in Burkina Faso. I've heard stories of them even giving students, agricultural students, all the land and the equipment and the seeds they need to start growing food for their own population. And while other dictators, if you want to call him that, the West certainly do, travelling the world by private jet, fighting climate change, he's basically going up and down the country, meeting the people who are helping him change the course of Burkina Faso. This is him visiting 60 independent female Burkina Faso farmers who've been cultivating tons of different vegetables for their country. He's not just wiped out the entirety of Burkina Faso's foreign debt in just 3 years, he's also made all education 100% free in the country. He also cut the pay of ministers by 30%. There was a lot of corruption in Burkina Faso. But he's also increased the salaries of workers by 50% in that time. He's basically done more in 3 years than every one of the politicians in the UK have done in my entire lifetime. Which is probably why democracy is coming for him by the look of it. These are the pictures of French, let's call them organic, protests calling for the arrest of Traore because, get this, they say he's a dictator. No problem with Saudi Arabia or any of the other dictatorships around the world, but no, he's a dictator, the guy who's bringing food and farming and agriculture and wealth to his country. And of course, where there's resources in the world, there's the good old United States of America. This is General Michael Langley of AFRICOM, and he's had something to say about Ibrahim Traore just recently. Take a listen.
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traore and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
AFRICOM's General Langley there. If you notice, he never did say who the regime were using the gold reserves, their gold, by the way, to protect them from, did he? Any ideas who Burkina Faso, with all that gold, would need protecting from? I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. And you can't say what's happening here is racist or anything like that because it's Africa, because as you can clearly see, General Langley is black. You know, they never do go to tell you that while it's true that Ibrahim Traore cancelled elections in Burkina Faso a year or so ago, they never go on to tell you why. It's because the people didn't want the elections. They wanted him to stop in. He was doing such a great job. And where is it written in stone that every country around the world needs to be a democracy? I mean, I live in a apparent democracy. And it's shit. It really is. According to many reports that I've heard, there have been over a dozen assassination attempts or failed assassination attempts on this guy's life. And it's no wonder. I know a lot of you will be commenting below. I'm getting Colonel Gaddafi vibes here. So you would think that this guy would be scared, right, of, you know, the Western powers doing what the Western powers do. But he has something to say to them. Take a listen.
They will tell us, you know, Thomas Sankara tried to do it like this, but where is he? He is dead. The Haitian president, he tried to do it like this. Where is he? He is dead. Gaddafi tried like this. Where is he? He is dead. These are the veiled statements made to us to instill fear. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowards, and history will judge us. Our children will ask questions. Our grandchildren will ask questions. We are writing history. There is no room for cowardice.
Amazing guy, right? Consider this. He's just 36 years old. Best of luck to you, mate. Best of luck.
Apparently Trump works for French bankers now. He's threatening to arrest Ibrahim Traore. You ought to know who he is. He's the youngest president in the world. He's the president of Burkina Faso, and he has been wrapping up the French Empire in Africa. The French are still looting Africa through the banking system, through ownership of all the natural resources in Africa, and they've been straight looting the place. And this guy's been leading the charge to not do that shit anymore. Trying to opt this guy like he was Fidel Castro. I should tell you something. It doesn't seem to be very well known in the world media, but this is one of the most significant dudes in the world right now.
Here's why Ibrahim Traore is posing such a big problem for the West and why they want rid of him. This guy's doing what a leader should do. He's protecting African people and he's protecting African resources. Take a look at what Ibrahim Traore has done since he was elected in 2023. He increased the GDP of Burkina Faso from 18.8 billion to 22.1 billion. He reduced the salaries of ministers by 30% and increased the salary of civil servants by 50%. He made Burkina Faso a debt-free country. Now think about what our government is doing to farmers in the UK, and then look at what Ibrahim Traore has done for farmers in his country. He bought them 400 tractors, 239 tillers, 710 motorbikes, 714 pumps, which meant the production of millet, rice, tomatoes and cotton rose by millions of tons. But the main reason why they want rid of Ibrahim Traore is because he's banned the colonial exploitation from France and the West, who for years have kept Africa poor and weak by exploiting the minerals. All the gold, oil, platinum, diamonds, all these precious minerals have been extracted from Africa. The African people have been paid pennies, and that's what's keeping them poor. Now he's a problem, he's a terrorist, and the West have to go in and help Burkina Faso. Just like we went in and helped Palestine, we went in and helped Syria, just like we went in and helped Libya. They destroy the infrastructure and destroy the lives of the people so they can get what they want, line their own pockets and have complete control of how the world works. And if Ibrahim Traore, God willing, stays alive and succeeds, this is a big problem for the New World Order moving forward. It means no one world government. It means no one world currency, because if you can't control Africa, you can't control the world. So this is why we need to pray for this man. This is why we need to keep him alive. And this is why we don't believe anything we see on the mainstream media about him being a problem, a terrorist, an extremist, someone with empathy, someone with courage, someone who's willing to die for his people for what he believes in.
Africa. As you can see, American imperialism want to destroy one of ours. America right now after Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim Traore is fighting for his integrity, fighting for his dignity, fighting for his people. No, you as African, from today, 24th of April 2025, you are not buying any Coca-Cola. You are not buying anything from KFC. You are not buying anything from McDonald's. You are not buying anything made by Americans. You are standing unity with the people of Burkina Faso, and you are boycotting American-made products. Stand united, Africa. Stop financing devils who want to kill ours.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're great. I'm hoping that you've heard the perspective of all these people who are sharing their opinion, and it was important because you get to see how people really have understood how the elites are controlling the world. Look at these people's hypocrisy. They're not seeing the harm that they are causing to all these people. And remember, as I said, there has been nothing called fair when it comes to imperialists and what they've caused towards Africans and people who have black descent across the world. Today, what we see is happening in Burkina Faso is something which is so much commendable. Remember, the power is in the hands of African leaders. It is the African leaders to choose whether they still remain to be used by these groups of people. And I'm wondering, what are they waiting for? They should be joining Ibrahim Traore in fighting this. And I was so happy to see a lot of people going out there trying to discuss, trying to talk about all these things, because something went down in history, something that was not nice. But it was supposed to be talked about because it is really important for people to just have to talk about all these things. Revolutionary leaders that always try to bring change in the world, the imperialists will always have a way of trying to take them down. And that's what they did with the president of Libya, that Muammar Gaddafi. They took Muammar Gaddafi when his agendas was only trying to push for the success of African nation. They wanted Africa to be independent. They wanted Africa to have its own currency, and a couple of fights that will stop imperialists like Macron, the France Prime Minister, in what is trying to push all these agendas. You get to understand how these people have dehumanized people because they want profit. The mineral resource extraction that they've done, and by removing their intervention, they're stopping people like Macron from doing all those atrocities. When we get to look at things that are happening in Congo, those kids don't go to school. Those kids wake up in the morning to work in these farms. People don't even care about them. So generally, that's what's really happening over here. I'm looking forward to a world where we'll see African leaders taking spheres, taking these opportunities to challenge the imperialists, because for the longest time, our African leaders have bowed down to the Babylon system for the longest time. And I think it is posing a threat when we have leaders like Ibrahim Traore who are trying to bring change, who are trying to do things differently. And now it seems problematic when they want to come with solutions. What I'm glad and what I'm happy about is that the world is behind Ibrahim Traore. People are giving him hands, like people are showing support. People are going out in massive, right? People are going out there in massive to support Ibrahim Traore. And this will go down in history. This is for the longest time when we're trying to see people stand for justice. And I understand this happened in the United States, and it's not going to be happening in Africa, because from the way I'm seeing it, we are going to see African countries protesting so that African leaders can change their ways. They can change and start serving its citizens, not serving the elites who are controlling the 1%, who are controlling the 90% of the world. How can the top 1% of people control the 90% of the world? That's crazy. When we have leaders, African leaders, that are going to stop all these people from getting these mineral resources that they use to create wealth in at the expense of Africans. Well, I think that's the greatest thing that all have to have happened to Africa. As an African, as a continental African, I believe that the future is in Africa and everyone should protect Africa. Well, these are presented Jintok Stories, and I'm hoping to see you in my next video. But until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.